Rita Calvo. I grew up in Tribeca. Me and my brother were part of the first Tribeca baby boom. It was a great place to grow up. Literally right in front of our windows was the World Trade Center. My whole life, I really enjoyed the World Trade Center. I enjoyed looking at it. I loved them at night, just seeing the patterns of the windows. And some offices, a whole floor would be lit up, and then other floors would just have a couple of lights here and there. I never, ever thought something would happen. There was no fear whatsoever. I went to my first class. It must have been about 9:15 at this point, and my teacher told us, he's like, 2 planes have crashed in the World Trade Center. They're both passenger airliners. It looks like terrorism. Someone did it on purpose. He said, I'm going to put the radio on, and that was the first I had heard it. There was a woman talking on the radio saying, I'm down at the World Trade Center, and both planes, and she stopped, and I just hear a roar and screaming. She was like, hold on. I felt my entire body tense up. They're like, it seems that there's been a collapse. And all I could see in my head was that tower falling north directly onto my house. And every single person in my class turned to look at me because I was the only person in there that lived downtown. I called my house. It kept ringing and ringing and ringing. But my dad was there and everything was okay. The house, it didn't fall on the house. It didn't fall on our apartment building. And I just hear him go, oh my God, Rita, we're sending Aunt Dee Dee to come get you. They're not going to let you down here if you don't get down here soon. I remember we came down to Greenwich Village, and that was the first time I saw the smoke. And I couldn't believe how big and dark the cloud was, and the sky was so blue behind it. I just went upstairs to my house and wanted to see what it was going to look like off a terrace. Having seen the World Trade Center outside my window for 16 years of my life, I went upstairs, and my dad just told me, he's like, they're both gone. I think the worst part was looking at the news and then looking outside and seeing right outside my window. And my dad handles things very strangely when he gets bad news or when something's, And one of the first things he told me to do is like, you gotta walk the dog. So I took the dog out for a walk, and I'm walking, and people are running towards, uptown. Kids from Stuyvesant walking with their backpacks and people with their briefcases just turning around, looking back in horror and disbelief. And I'm sitting there with my dog. Second day was the worst because that's when it really hit me. I noticed that there's papers everywhere, pieces of paper with burn marks on them. We were about on Duane Street when a piece of paper hit me in the leg. I picked it up and it said World Trade Center 192nd floor. And it wasn't until I kept running into them that I started thinking, I was like, oh my God, these are from the building. And here's my dad, we should go to the supermarket. It was open, except there was no electricity. So everything, it's pitch black dark, everything's melting onto the floor. It was me, my dad, and my brother, 8 firefighters who were looking for bottles of water. It was so surreal to be standing in this place shopping by flashlight. When I got home that day, I was covered in dust. I could smell it. And apparently, which I only found out later, when my brother and I were still sleeping, my dad had gotten up and gone out and using his New York Post press pass, had managed to finagle his way down below Chambers Street, where people weren't allowed. And he actually saw the buildings. And I think that really made him realize that, it was time to leave. We couldn't stay down here.